Chapter 993, Another Possibility. Allowing the spirit body to receive protection of a dream to slow down the encroachment of danger at night. This is similar to the necessity to sleep when night fell in the ruins of the battlefield of the gods. Also, the powers in the forsaken land of the gods likely isn't under the goddess's control. Once one vanishes in the darkness over there, they definitely won't enter the foggy town. Where will it point towards? Or would they stay in the same spot, unable to interact with companions and the real world until they die of starvation or old age? After reading Arodes' reply, Klein was somewhat enlightened as he roughly grasped the crux of the issue. However, he felt that this wasn't necessarily useful, because the sun only required pure darkness so that he could be buried in ice that normally wouldn't melt to consume the priest of light potion. Once he entered a dream, there was no way for him to control his own body to complete that critical step. That way, even if he could remain in the darkness for prolonged periods of time, it would be meaningless. Yes, I'll wait until Little Sun asks the chief of the City of Silver before coming up with an actual plan based on his answer. Of course, before that, I can try to get a corresponding solution from Leonard to figure out how to create darkness with a temporary dream world. Klein nodded slightly, acknowledging the answer provided by the magic mirror. As for the first option of accepting corruption and turning into a monster in the darkness, it wasn't even considered. In the extraordinary world, this was equivalent to committing suicide, which almost couldn't be reversed. Upon considering how he still had one question left to ask, Klein deliberated and asked, "Where can I obtain the potion formula of the Seer Pathways Sequence 3, Scholar of Yore?" The full-body mirror's surface had aqueous light ripple once again, as it reflected a dark cathedral without any natural light. Klein found this scene very familiar as he immediately recalled what it represented. This was where Zeratul, who had turned into a monster, hid. However, this time, deep inside the cathedral, the cluster of blurry and huge maggots were no longer present. Just as Klein's pupils dilated, the silver words appeared beneath the scene depiction. "Great Master, Zeratul has vanished. I can't find him." Vanished? Klein momentarily forgot to breathe. Although he had long known of Zeratul's return, since he was the one who began the chain reaction by opening the door to the foggy town, he never expected this big shot to secretly leave the cathedral, his whereabouts becoming unknown. Even Arodes is unable to locate him. What is he plotting? The more Klein thought, the more a chill ran down his back. Having become a Sequence 4 demigod, he could confirm one thing. His control over the mysterious world above the gray fog was still insufficient. He could temporarily only converge the leaking specialness that it had augmented him with in the real world, making it difficult for beyonders of corresponding pathways to see it, but it was unable to repress the law of beyonder characteristic convergence. As for the gray fog, it had proven time and time again that he had an invisible form of attraction towards beyonders of the seer, apprentice, and marauder pathway. Amongst them, the effects on the seer pathway was most evident. Besides, I myself am quite an attractive Sequence 4 Bizarro sorcerer. It's not impossible for Zeratul to suddenly come to Backland one day. Klein maintained a deadpan expression and said to the full-body mirror that was switching scenes, "Got it." Arodes presented another scene which Klein was equally familiar with. It was the Antigonus family's treasure trove at the peak of the Hornisus mountain range. Below this scene, silver words quickly surfaced once again. "Great Master, there's another possibility, but I can't tell. I just know that it's easier than the first two." The Antigonus family's notebook isn't there this time. That's right. It will lead the wielder to the main peak of the Hornisus mountain range to seek out the Antigonus family's treasure trove. It's basically the same as the previous option. What's the possibility that even Arodes can't tell? Based on what I know about the factions in control of the seer pathway, it's implying that I should pray to the goddess for it. The goddess is the mother of concealment, so she can choose whether Arodes can see it or not. Klein's thoughts scattered and quickly made a connection. Of course, he didn't believe that directly praying for the Scholar of Yore potion formula would allow him to get it. It was too ridiculous, as though it was child's play. From his experience as a Nighthawk, He suspected that he might need to make enough contributions before he could obtain the Scholar of Your Potion formula from the Evernight goddess via a ritual. Making enough contributions, this sure is a familiar phrase. Klein sighed as he began having some ideas. Clearly, he had hints on how to do so, handle the artificial death faction of the numinous episcopate. However, Klein suspected that the goddess only had up to the Scholar of Your sequence for the Seer Pathway potion formulas, and not the subsequent ones at the angel level. This was because the Antigonus family's angel didn't perish immediately back then, but had hidden in a secret palace, losing control to become a monster, and was in a half-sealed state. In addition, the Fool card was also there and hadn't been retrieved yet. At this moment, Klein had the intention of asking about Ammon's avatars, but he suddenly recalled that within the memories of the rat demigod, the warning about the Marauder Pathway angel and Ammon had been given by this very mirror. As his thoughts flashed through his mind, Klein narrowed his eyes, looked at the full-body mirror, and nodded. "All right, that's it for today. Head back. If there's anything in the future, I'll summon you again." "Yes, Master. Goodbye, Master Tilda. Your loyal and humble servant, Arodes, is constantly waiting to return to your side." Light gathered on the mirror's surface, depicting a stick figure waving its hand. After everything returned to normal, Klein turned around and picked up the paper with the previously drawn symbol. With a snap of his fingers, he made it burst into scarlet flames. The ash floated down as he spread open his left hand. In it were 2 maggots shimmering with solid, mysterious symbols. The 2 maggots squirmed gently, using their life force to fill the entire bedroom with madness and bizarreness. The surrounding lights then dimmed and brightened from time to time in a non-uniform fashion. They were none other than the worms of spirit, which Klein had separated from himself. Suddenly, Klein reached out his right palm, suddenly pressing them towards the 2 transparent maggots. Instantly, his palm paused, just short of touching the worms of spirit. He raised his palm again, lowering it only to pause. He repeated this several times until he finally exerted his strength with a deadpan expression. Amidst an invisible and illusory cracking sound, his head suddenly felt a stabbing pain. This made his soul feel like it was being ripped apart. It was even more painful than encountering a gunshot or a slash wound. Klein used his clown powers to control the twitching of his facial muscles. After a few seconds, he raised his right hand to rub his temples, inwardly mumbling. Indeed, the death of every worm of spirit deals damage to the spirit body. My current limit is 6. I'll temporarily stop trying. Let's see how long it takes to recover. Thankfully, this is a tolerable matter. Otherwise, it would be dangerous if a marionette is destroyed while the worm of spirit isn't able to be collected in time due to an intense battle. Yes, it's different from Ammon's Worms of Time avatars. A Bizarro sorcerer's worms of spirit will not necessarily die when a marionette is destroyed. Most of the time, a Bizarro sorcerer is able to retrieve them in time. It's because the distance between the body and the marionette is that exaggerated. After confirming the situation and waiting for the Beyonder characteristics contained within the worms of spirit to return to himself, Klein rummaged for some materials and set up a ritual to pray to the Fool. After a series of tasks, Klein used the carcasses of 2 worms of spirit, 2 silver plates, and the complicated symbol which he had previously recorded down to make 2 silver-black bullets, of which the latter came from Snake of Mercury, Will Ossipton. The 2 bullets were carved with strange, indescribable patterns. They kept extending inwards as though they were coming together in the middle at one point. Their entire bodies were gloomy, but not dark. Just one look at it made one's thoughts sluggish. Klein flicked a gold coin and used divination, together with his spiritual intuition, to swiftly determine the abilities of the 2 bullets. The target would immediately enter a state of paralysis upon being hit. The length of time that one was left in this state depended on the potency of one's spirit body. Even sequence, 3 saints would be in a state of stiffness for a second or 2. This already exceeds my powers. Of course, the premise is that contact can be made. Oh, this is a result of the Gray Fog's augmentation. These 2 bullets should be at the same level as the Fate Siphon charms. Although my worms of spirit can't be compared to Ammon's and Pallas's worms of time, The amount of power I can now draw from the mysterious space above the gray fog is clearly superior to what I could do in the past. I shall call them, control spirit bullets. Klein drew Death Knell from his underarm holster, snapped open the cylinder wheel, and stuffed the 2 silver-black control spirit bullets inside. Following that, he spread open a piece of paper beside the altar and wrote, "Next, your mission is to seek out relatively high-level charms and beyonder bullets. May God be with you. XXX, who raised 3 requests from you." This letter was written to Patrick Bryan of the Numinous Episcopate's Artificial Death faction. With a subordinate at my disposal, why let him go to waste? As Klein mumbled, he folded his letter. At the altar from before, he summoned Patrick Bryan's messenger. The surface of the desk burst into pitch-black flames and quickly gathered together, forming a translucent bird with dark feathers. This spirit world creature glanced at Klein before slowly lowering its head to bite at the envelope. Watching it disappear, Klein nodded slightly and inwardly muttered, "Patrick's contract companion isn't of a low level either." He quickly reined in his thoughts, took out another letter, and fluidly wrote, "I have already obtained the blessing of concealment. You can attempt to gather items at the Marauder Pathway demigod level. In addition, I've found a way to crack the theft and replacement of destiny. You don't have to be too anxious. Do you know how to create a darkness that includes a temporary dream world? If you have the time, can you head to Tingen and help me use 3782 to create flaring sun bullets? The mutated sun's sacred emblem has the divine blood of the eternal blazing sun hidden in it. Only by sufficiently raising your strength can we be more confident at dealing with Ammon's avatars."